What's up, guys? Sir Culture Freak here. That's gonna get some getting used to say, but yeah, here with another video about whatever the fuck I'm thinking about right now, which actually has to do. It's a small philosophical point. It has to do with culture. Has to do with society. If you guys are subscribed to my Sir All About Music page, you know that today being Sunday, yesterday being Saturday, of course, I took a trip to Iowa to help my uncle move back home, and it's a 6 hour drive. And I went up there, I took that 6 hour drive with another one of my uncles and my grandpa, and me and my uncle had an interesting discussion about responsibility. And for a long time now, I have rejected the idea of responsibility. I do not believe that responsibility exists. And I'll bring you through my thought process on that in a minute. And through this discussion that I had with him, he brought to my attention that it's responsibility doesn't exist as a natural construct. And this is probably something I should have noticed when I first started coming up with the idea of the lack of responsibility's existence. It is not a natural construct. It is obviously, now that I look back on it, a human construct. And so at the end of the video, I will talk about the idea of human constructs and ask you guys a couple of questions about it. But I guess about 6 months ago, I started bringing myself through this thought that it kind of ties into existentialism a little bit. I kind of started getting this thought in my head that, people really don't have any control over you. Even if you were to sign a contract, that really doesn't mean anything in a grand sense. It's a worthless piece of paper. As far as law is concerned, where did you swear that you were going to actually obey the law? You didn't make any promise. You didn't sign a contract. All these thoughts are going through my head, and these are just the initial thoughts, mark you. I understand that there are problems with these thoughts. Obviously, don't point those out. I've gone through them on my own. Consequences obviously come to play in this entire thought process here. But one of the big things that I started thinking about was the idea of responsibility. And it occurred to me that when people think of things that they're responsible for, these are things that they believe that they are required to do. At the very core of our understanding of responsibility, there is the idea of requirement. If you're responsible for your little brother, you're required to watch over him, take care of him, make sure that he doesn't do anything wrong. That's a requirement. And for me, requirement denotes that you have no choice in the matter. If you're required to do something, you have no choice. My example would be to pass the driving test, you are required to parallel park. If you don't parallel park, you're not going to pass the driving test. You don't have a choice in the matter. You can't choose to say, okay, I'm going to pass the driving test, but I'm not going to do parallel parking. That's not something that you can do. So responsibilities induce requirement, or vice versa. Induce is not the right word to use there. Responsibilities, our understanding of the word responsibility comes down to the word requirement. And I'm using requirement in the sense that you do not have a choice in the matter. And the fact is that you always have a choice. You always have a choice. You can choose to break the law. You can choose not to take care of your little brother, let him run out in the middle of the street and he can get hit by a car. You always have that choice. The power of choice is not something that can easily be taken away from people. Even if you are locked in a cage and being held at gunpoint, you might not have a lot of choices to make, but there are still choices that you can make, if you guys see what I'm saying. The power of choice is not something that is ever taken away from you, ever, at any point in time. So that's the that's the idea here. And the fact is that if you can choose to neglect your responsibilities, the fact is you can always choose to neglect your responsibilities. Therefore, responsibilities don't really exist, because if you have a choice in the matter, then it can't be labeled as a requirement. And if it's not a requirement, then you can't really have any kind of sort of responsibility thought or process going on there. And of course, this is from the standpoint of a natural construct, as my uncle pointed out to me. As far as human constructs go, responsibility is created to make sure that people toe the line. It is a literal human construct. It is something that does exist as far as the human mind goes, and I will concede that point. In our dealings in society, in our dealings with each other, we expect other people to carry out their responsibilities. That gives, honor your responsibilities, honorability, integrity, all sorts of things come in. And of course, there are consequences to whatever choices you may make to reject your responsibilities. So that being said, what do you guys think of that thought process, first of all? The idea that responsibility doesn't exist. And what do you think of this? The fact, knowing that responsibility is a human construct, has weakened its power in my eyes. To me, a human construct really doesn't hold any weight, because it's just something that a large group of people agree on. That does not make it right or wrong, and it doesn't make it something that is, holds any weight or is actually important. And I can't be selective about this. This means that all human constructs, laws, contracts, anything, any sort of human construct is weak. It almost doesn't matter. Does that occur to you, or what realizing that these things are made up? What is your thought process towards those things? And I think that everybody kind of realizes that these things are made up, but we really don't think about it all that often. I mean, if that was shoved in your face every single day, how would you feel about the power that these things are supposed to have over you, the importance that they're supposed to have in your life? So those are your questions. And of course, I'm not saying I'm right. As always, I'm not saying I'm right. I want to know what you guys think. Always want to know what you guys think. So comments are welcome. Video responses are preferred. Sir Culture Freak, I'll see you guys next time.